Mark, first question here in the front.
Kawhi, Mark Schwartz, ESPN. Can you explain what it was like when Nick proposed the box and one to you guys for the first time in the timeout, and how you guys embraced that new way to go, and how it worked?
I mean, at that time, you just listening to the coach and trying to win the game. So we just, myself, I'll just speak for myself. I just went out there and tried to execute. At times coming back in transition on the floor, we forgot that we were in it, but we just kind of talked it out and still got into our locations.
Do you think it can work in stretches for the rest of the series?
Probably not. I mean, Clay definitely wasn't on the floor at that time. There's no telling when KD's going to come back either, so I don't think it will work.
Tim in the back.
Kawhi, Tim Reynolds from the AP. You undoubtedly are aware that there was a suit filed yesterday against Nike. I know you probably can't talk about specifics of it, but were you comfortable with that being filed during the finals? And how do you have this amazing knack for seeming like to always being able to block out distraction? How do you develop such a knack?
I mean, it happened a long time ago. It's probably you guys are just finding out, but it's not a big worry of mine. Like, I've been know about it.
Michael, back right.
Kawhi, what does it say about your head coach that he's willing to try, an unusual defense in the fourth quarter of a finals game? And can you think of some other examples this year where he's maybe done something a little surprising strategically?
I mean, I guess, a guy that thinks outside the box. He coached at a lot of different levels, seen a lot of different games. Now coached a lot of NBA games. So, I mean, I really can't remember right now, just on the spot of what he has done. But, that's just how he is. He experimental, and, a lot of times what he, draws up on the board works.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kawhi? Right here in the third row.
Hey, Kawhi, I asked Clay this. I'm curious, how does an NBA player decide what a pain is, acceptable to play through and what type of pain you need to sit out from? How do you sort of draw the line? Because everybody's hurt, everybody's beat up at this point in the season. How do you make that decision?
I mean, right now it's possible 5 games left and, about 12 days. If you could run, really. I mean, if you can't run, then you're not going to be able to play. That's how you pretty much measure things at this time. That's all I could really say. If you can run, you definitely just cannot play. And just see how it goes in the first quarter. Did it get worse or not? You might be able to start the game off running, but then you might not be able to, finish as good as you started just from fatigue and, whatever is bothering you at that time.
Greg, next row back.
Kawhi, Greg Logan of Newsday, New York. Can you describe your thoughts on the job Toronto did managing your load during the season to allow you to play 40 minutes a game and be dominant in these playoffs? And we've seen you limp a few times. Are you fully 100%, or are you slightly compromised?
100%. I'm on the floor. I mean, there's no excuses. Everybody knows everyone's banged or bruised up at this moment. I mean, pretty much you heard it before. Coming in the season wasn't, feeling healthy. Still was, trying to get back to my old self. I mean, they seen that, they felt that, seen pictures of, of my body, and we pretty much just laid out the schedule and went from there. Just pretty much, like I said, laid out a schedule, win game by game, see that things get worse or get better, and then just try to keep attacking each day.
Last 2 questions. Paul over there, and then over here.
Hi, Kawhi. Paul Flannery over here on your right. To follow up on a question that was asked earlier from Tim, how are you able to sort of process and block out distractions in the course of a game? And is that something that you worked on over the course of your career, or is that just just your personality, do you think?
I mean, I think it just comes natural just by, you know, all NBA players, you know what I mean? It's just so much distractions from you know, playing in high school to college and, you know, becoming a pro. So it's probably just pretty much second nature at this point. And like I said, you know, I know about this, you know, way before even playoffs started. So it's nothing new to me.
So the Warriors changed the matchup in the game 2, second half. Clay was on you. How much did you enjoy the challenge?
I mean, it's fun. I've been knowing Clay for a long time, just living in California. And, I mean, I just go out and play still, you know what I mean? I'm not just playing against him at the moment. You know, they switch a lot. You know, they're a great defensive team, and just try to, you know, take the challenge.
Last one, next row back.
Hey Kawhi, Trista Crick, USA Today. I was talking to Boogie earlier just about his rehab process through his injuries. He's obviously been on multiple teams. How much variance is there from team to team in terms of what the training staff is like and the types of treatment that you receive?
It's just like meeting anybody, you know, walking outside or whatever person you're talking to, everyone's different. They're going to see the world different, life different, and that's pretty much how it is. You know, from going from, you know, one place to another, it's totally different people.
Thank you, Kawhi. Kyle will be in next. Thank you. Take your bag down here. You don't want it up there? No, it's up to you. Doug, first question in the back center.
Hey Nick, Doug Smith, the Toronto Star. The other day you talked about your team needs to score more to get in these games, and do you have to change the way you play, like call more sets for that to happen, or how do you generate that kind of situation given the way you normally play?
Yeah, I mean we're trying to play as normally as we can, Doug. I think it's always a game of rhythm a little bit, and you got to watch what's happening. You know, we've got, as you know, we talk a lot about our shot spectrum, the shots we're trying to get. You know, we got to get a certain amount of paint touches. We got to get the ball side to side. You know, those are things you just got to keep an eye on. I think we just had some lulls in those 3 areas in game 2.
Scott here in the front.
Scott Osler, San Francisco Chronicle. Nick, right here. You coach in the D League or G League, whatever it was called then. Could you give us a sense of what that's like coaching there, and also how that has become a springboard, a legitimate springboard for this league? Because like the Warriors have a couple guys that.
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing I always say is getting the head coaching experience. And the interesting thing about the G League is that, you know, one of the things about being a head coach is you got to, you know, get up in front of the team and run the team, right? But you're trying to always, as a coach, develop chemistry, define roles, get guys to play their butts off. And in the D League, you got so much change, or, you know, in personnel, guys coming and going, that you end up having to do that probably much more than you would at this level or most levels, you know, where you got your team kind of from start to finish. And you can, once you get those roles developed or some chemistry built, that kind of goes to the end of the year, but you're kind of always getting that disrupted in the D League. So I thought it's a good chance to work at those skills maybe more than you would anyplace else in the world. And the other thing I always say, everybody that's been in the D League's a little better off for it. It's a really great place and really great people, and players just, man, they play hard, and really enjoyed my time there.
Tim in the back row.
Nick, all the way in the back, Tim Reynolds with the AP. I'm sure you heard that Kawhi filed suit against Nike yesterday, and I know their disagreement has gone on for a while, obviously. Speaking broadly, not about that specifically, but broadly, how have you guys learned to manage noise? I mean, you've had it from day one, you know, is he staying, is he going, all those things, and all the other things that go on from day one to a finals game 3. How has this team learned to manage noise and things of that nature when it just seems like it never stops these days?
Well, you know, first of all, I learn a lot of things when I come to these press conferences. You guys tell me a lot of things. So a lot of times I don't know about much of the noise till somebody asks me a question about it. A lot of times. So again, it's to me it's like part of the job. Like I love like most people, I love listening to all the shows and the podcasts and the whatever, and I haven't listened to a one since the playoffs have started, and I miss it. You know what I mean? But it's part of the job to not, either way. If they're killing you, you're going to get pissed at somebody. And if they're telling you how great you are, then you're going to have another wrong opinion of yourself, right? So you just, I think the players do the same for the most part. There's enough energy that's needed and concentration and focus in executing these game plans and playing your heart out and resting and recuperating and traveling and all the things. So I think there's enough to focus on that occupies us, and we just got to try to stay a little bit out of some of that stuff. And like I keep saying as well, like with all the stuff, I've got a lot of questions about Drake and blah blah blah. You don't even really notice that most of that stuff's going on. A lot of that's after the game, before the game, between the games, etc. But once the ball goes up, feels like I'm coaching in Des Moines, Iowa again.
Second row on your right.
Yeah, Nick, Jeff Ferrata with the Bay Area News Group. Can you talk about your impressions of what DeMarcus Cousins was able to do for them in Game 2, and if there was anything in particular that you thought you were well impressed with?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously came out with a certain game plan against Gasol, right? The first possession of the game, he went out and damn near tackled him, right? And then the ball went out of bounds, and he clobbered him again on the way out of bounds. So he was obviously going to go out there and try to physically intimidate him. But he also, he did the same. He passed the ball pretty well. He was a big presence in there. I thought he hit a big three. We didn't close out to him quite hard enough. We were there, but it wasn't good enough, and he made it. Kind of kept things ticking over. I think when we were up maybe 10, and he cut it to 7 or something like that in the first half. But no, he played great, and I figured he's an all-star player. He's got tons of talent. He's a big body. I figured as the series goes on and he gets the timing back and the thing, he'll keep playing better.
Michael, towards the back right.
Nick, Michael Grange from Sportsnet. Can you just maybe walk us through your decision to go box and one with Fred against Steph at the end of the fourth quarter, or the last half of the fourth quarter, and maybe some of your thinking about being willing to try kind of unusual things in a very, in the spotlight?
Well, we were having trouble getting our defense set up. We were having trouble at the basket a little bit. And we were having trouble with the rhythm of the game there. And usually, you use like any zone, so it's a type of zone. That's what you're using zone for a lot. You and I have talked about this before. We played some zone during the regular season, and you usually do it to when the game's funky and there's a bad rhythm, and maybe you can change it, right? Just by slowing them down or stopping some of their cutting or whatever. And it seemed to protect the rim better for us and stop some of their cutting. And it was good. I don't know. I was just trying to come up with something to stop them.
I think Steve Kerr was here and saying he'd never seen it in the NBA before. And, he said someone threw one at him when he was in grade 9. So he was very proud about that.
Yeah, I know everybody's making fun of me for it, right?
but that's sort of the point. I'm sure you were probably subject to a box of one in Carroll one time, I'm sure.
No, I was never that kind of player,
All
but
right.
go on.
But the point is like your team hadn't practiced that, I'm guessing. And, did you just come up with it on the spur of the moment, like at a timeout, and then again to have the faith to roll something out there that in that circumstance?
Well, in all those things, first of all, your players have to have some faith in it, right? And I got a sense from them that they were good with it. in the timeout. You know, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about going boxing one. What do you guys think? And they were like, well, what does that look like? And I drew the box up and who would be where. Not. You know, they just wanted, and they kind of liked the looks of, you know, Mark and Kawhi being down and, you know, Kyle up and Fred chasing, and they were, yeah, and Kyle was kind of the one that said, yeah, man, that'll work. Let's go. And that kind of lets you, I don't know, let you share the responsibility a little bit, and we're all on the same page, and we leave the huddle, and we're all good with it. So that helps.
Over here.
Trista Crick, USA Today. Coach, you and I spoke after game one just about plans to still run the offense through Mark. Obviously, Coach Kerr wanted to stop you from doing that. What specifically did inserting Boogie into the lineup do to sort of neutralize Mark?
Well, I think again, like I mentioned, they tried to get up and rough him up and play him, you know, with some pressure out there on the perimeter. Mark had some really good looks too. I mean, it wasn't like I mean, he had some in the quarter from hell, the third quarter that we had there. He had like 3 or 4 of the really good looks there. One from about 8 feet, one from about 10 feet, and then one was a wide open 3. So. You know, he did do a good job though, pressuring him, and Mark will be the first one to say that he didn't have as good a game as he would have liked to have.
So in game 3, is it sort of make or miss, keep things the same, or is there an adjustment to the adjustment to be made in your view?
There might be an adjustment to make, yeah.
Last question in the fourth row.
Nick, Greg Logan of Newsday. There's been a lot of talk about the Warriors' injury situation, and yet we've seen that there have been times when Kawhi was compromised. How would you characterize his physical status right now, and his ability to take over some of these games?
He's good, right? I kind of keep saying I think he's good. Really knows his body. I think he's got a lot of minutes in him, you know, 40 plus a night. And I think he's gonna get his cracks at the shots.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Thank you.